Today we have our circular economy queen back to the Pool podcast. Welcome back, Elin Bergman. We've
Thank
also got Johannes Paul Schwartz joining us today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
We have done a little bit of a rebranding with one of our verticals since we last spoke, from ag tech to agro climb tech, and now we've settled on clean tech. Could you elaborate a little bit behind the reason for the rebranding and what to expect for the next event coming up in November?
Sure. Well, we started the vertical kind of fast.
As we always do.
No, and I'm all about sustainability. And when we started to prepare for the first launch event, it was more focused on, there were a lot of ag tech companies here at the pool, but then we gathered a lot of other companies were into water tech and carbon tech and clean tech and all of these. And we tried to, when we did the second event and also now when we're going to do the third, we were kind of uncomfortable with just calling it ag tech because it kind of narrowed it down too much. So we had this long discussion about like, what is it exactly? And then we kind of, decided on clean tech because it kind of involves everything. So we hope that this name will last. We will see. But also because I wanted to have circular economy in here. And I think it's also, it's all connected to sustainability somehow. It could have been sustained tech or whatever. But yeah, so that's the reason for the name change. And nothing drastic. It's more like how can we make everybody feel comfortable and welcome. And yeah, we're doing the third event on November 14th. So it's going to be about circular economy, actually. I'm going to do my famous keynote speech about the basics of circular economy, but also give a lot of information about why is it happening right now, what's good with it, what's the value, but also give some really good examples of companies here in Spain that's working has circular business models and products and so on. So I think it's going to be...
Because you're behind it, we do expect quite a nice turnout.
Yeah. And also we're doing something else. Johannes First is coming also to talk about a new product legislation coming out from the EU and its product passports, like what's they going to include and also like how to prepare for it and so on. So I think it's good. It's going to affect all products here in Andalusia and also in all of Spain, all of Europe, actually all over the world. And then I have a book launch as well. Because I just...
The Customer is the Planet?
Yeah, we just... I'm co-authoring a book that was launched actually yesterday. We're going to have a bit of a launch party here in Spain, and I'm going to sign some books, yeah.
And I hear that the sales are going pretty well.
Yeah, they're on some lists.
Oh, there we go. It's really exciting. How do you feel about that? I mean, it must be...
I'm so
they
surprised.
say, like, you need to plant a tree, write a book. It's one of those things you need to do in life.
Come full circle.
You've done a couple of things.
Yeah. No, it's amazing that it's on the bestseller list on Amazon right now. So it's and we just launched a book yesterday. So it's totally fantastic.
Really cool. So going back a little bit to the day-to-day of the clean tech vertical, you had a meeting recently where. That's one of the things that I love about the verticals in general. It's just like a meeting point, right? So you actually gathered everybody who wanted to be involved, and yeah, what was your outcome of that meeting?
Well, so we launched the vertical. We had the big event, and then we had another event. The first event was more about like. What kind of problems are we facing right now in Spain and Andalusia, and also what are the solutions? And the second one was more focused on water and water tech. But we don't only want to do events. We also want to gather everybody who signed up and said, we're interested in joining this vertical. So, of course, we're going to have network meetings. But I was away from March until, basically September. So now we had the first network meeting with the ones that signed up. And what we did was to, first of all, get to know each other. Mm-hmm. So we all presented each other for each other. And then we talked about, okay, what should we focus on? And I think this is the most important thing. We want inclusion and activity from all who is included and want to be part of the vertical. And of course, it's all about action in the end. So we want to see what are the biggest solutions and challenges here. What solutions are we sitting on at the pool, in the companies that are in the vertical? and how can we collaborate to make sure those obstacles and problems are dealt with and come with the solutions and implement them basically.
Really cool. And as a proof that this is actually how we operate, we integrate everybody who's willing to contribute to the cause. Today we got Johannes here as well. So he had shown some interest in joining the vertical. And as Elin said, we're focused quite a lot on actions and so forth. But would you like to tell us a little bit of your background and your involvement in the industry?
Sure. My name is Johannes Paul, or JP,
as we know you here.
Yeah, so not to get me confused with the other Johanneses in the pool. And my background is basically business administration with a focus on innovation management. And I'm, in the meantime, entrepreneur or serial entrepreneur of 3 agrotech, biotech startups. And the main focus is always how to make the planet a better place to live, and especially in the industry to improve the sustainability, basically. If it's in the pulp and paper industry or if it's in the fashion industry. The idea is to use the side products and make them more valuable. For example, in the pulp and paper industries, we use something that is called lignin. Make hydrogels for agriculture. It's a water absorber that helps in droughts. But in a new project now, we are also working on to solve the challenge of also make forests or wood more sustainable. So let's say I would coin maybe a new name, which is lab wood. So going that direction. No, I can't say yet too much, but it's the new like to say it's part of the industrial revolution, of the fourth industrial revolution, where biotech comes more into the picture, and the plants have a lot to offer, and maybe we find back the way to use them more also in pharmaceutical products, in human health, and of course also in the planet health, right? We have been sidetracked for a long time by not live together with Mother Earth. I would say now I come from the agrotech now more, so thinking of the soil as a mother, and putting too much pesticides in it. And now we find out that actually the microbes, for example, are very good for plant growth, but also for human health. And so, it needs new practices, and the planet is offering it. Yeah? But we need to find the way, and I think biotech has a bright future, as we talked.
I've not heard of lab-grown wood. I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing about it. We've heard of lab-grown meat, and in terms of, like you said, the project and the startup that you're being a part of, are you facing any sort of difficulties at the moment in terms of trying to implement this new circular way of putting out a mass product that will essentially replace deforestation and damage being done to lots of land?
I mean, at the moment it's maybe a bit early to name all the barriers that will come, but I mean, what we can see already at the point of registration is that they don't know how to classify.
Right.
So I'm calling different federal agencies, and then they say, you have to call the other agency. Then I call that agency. Then they tell me, no, you have to call the other one because.
And that happens in Austria, so it's not just here,
no,
right?
No,
exactly.
Yeah. So it happens, I guess, all over the world. But this is what happens also with disruptive technologies. So they need a new system, a new classification, and then of course, it's always pioneers' work. So you need to do that footwork and talk to people. But in the case of Austria, but also many other countries, you get a lot of support when you do something that is sustainable, and they want to support you. There are a lot of funding pots that you can access, and and with a good business plan, with the right team, with the expertise that is actually already out there. It's just about like the clean tech vertical to put people together. I think that's the most important.
So are you
part.
looking for funding right now?
We are also looking for funding. We are currently in the process of getting some federal money in Austria, but we are also looking into investors and especially also industries that are interested to contribute to that change.
So if anybody is watching this or listening, they should contact you if they want to be in the bioeconomy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes,
They got
I-
far too much money to spend, and they need
Yeah.
to.
No. There's. I mean, what I can say is that we are starting now with one product, but of course, just by saying wood, of course, there is much more to discover, and wood has a bouquet of applications. I mean, it goes from, of course, as we know, from real estate. I mean, meaning from building up to fragrance. Yeah. So wood you can find everywhere, and if we rediscover how we can use it in a sustainable way, then I mean, we will achieve planet health again. Yeah. I mean, I'm convinced. I'm an optimist, but I think together we can. Yeah, definitely.
And the cool thing is also it's going to be, once it's in production, much faster to grow than actually growing a tree in a
Definitely.
natural way.
Yeah, you have to think that you don't need to grow it. Yeah, there's a lot of the survival rate of new plant trees. Yeah, I mean, we don't hear that so often, but they like 50% in average die. Yeah, so you plant 2 trees and one dies because they don't survive the first summer. So you basically don't need to plant a tree. You don't need to deforest. Yeah. So you grow it in the lab. So there are more and more companies. There's a lot of competition out there as well. But the first.
Would you say
first come,
that
first serve.
the idea behind what you're doing is also to do the different varieties of wood out there, to replicate specific woods that people are very much used to seeing in,
Exactly.
like you say, fragrances or in specific furnitures or...
Yeah, definitely. So we are starting currently with the so to say wood trees that are critically endangered. They are the sites, so to call this, like the WWF, but for species that are about to extinguish. And we're starting with those because they have a higher value and so on. So yeah, and then but later on, I mean, if you think ahead, it's possible also to grow any kind of tree in a lab and as well then use it for industrial applications.
I mean, maybe my mind's just going somewhere else here, but obviously you're talking about lab grown and science. Is it crazy to think that maybe eventually once this kind of a business takes flight, that you could maybe even create a different type of wood that has different properties from rosewood, from cedarwood, from sandalwood, and put them all together to make it maybe a more fragrant wood, or that holds a fragrance longer or stronger for building purposes?
Yeah.
Or
Also-
maybe can even bind more carbon, which is really good to use as a carbon sink.
Mhm. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but what my partner explains me is that basically we get a homogeneous wood. So if you compare it also to the pulp and paper industry from our previous startup, it's like you get not a homogeneous product, right? So it's a side product, and then you have to work on it before you can use it. So there are also ideas of using lignin, which is basically wood again, that's just the Latin word for it, that can substitute lithium and graphite in the lithium batteries. So imagine having battery storage 100% green. Yeah.
I think
Of course, it will go step by step, but that's
Very
the goal.
I think it's really fun though. It goes basically back to what you mentioned before. It's like even the problems we solve now, the solution is actually in Mother Nature again. So we got the problem for the batteries, the
Exactly.
problem we got within the nature, in the nature itself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just it's a focus. I think, you know. So if we look for solutions in nature, we will find them. Yeah? And we have enough knowledge. We have very good scientists, but sometimes it's also just missing links. You know? So sometimes we work in silos. I'm working a lot with scientists, and I see myself sometimes like the mediator, you know, between the universities, if you want so, or the scientists and the business outside there. So sometimes they speak the same language, it's their mother tongue, but they don't understand each other. So very often you need to translate it in the same language, not Spanish to English or English to Spanish, but in the same language, just to make the other one understand what the scientist is actually saying, and explain also the scientist what the business guy is saying. So this is missing. So I think it's all communication. There are a lot of technologies that in the universities, just because the university professor doesn't want to leave the department in that university. So it's about talking to them and then finding a solution how to spin it off.
Actually, that's exactly what I do with the network that I run in Sweden and also in the Nordics, CradleNet. We have 150 companies that we teach about circular economy, and we invite experts and scientists to teach them about their science that they're making. But the problem is the science that are made is usually it turns into a report that nobody reads. And
very
nobody
technical terminology.
Very technical, but also like they are not good at getting the message out there. Like this is how you're supposed to apply the information and the science that I produced. So what we do is we invite them to explain their findings to the companies and tell them this is how you're supposed to use this. Because this is what's missing. I'm a good communicator, so I try to always be like you, try to translate and make sure that everybody hears about the reports that have been written, but also like how you're supposed to use it. So it's like applying science. And also that's why I'm in a lot of advisory boards in different universities, because they are really good at sciencing, but they're very bad at communicating. so that's it really needs someone like you and me, I guess, to get it out there. And also that's what I hope for the vertical here, that we also can do the same thing. Like there are so many fantastic companies here in this house, and there's also a lot of universities, and you know they need to meet, they need to talk to each other, they need to talk to the politicians and make sure that all these problems and you know that we have a fantastic circular economy action plan and climate plans for Andalusia, but someone needs to carry them out, and who can do that? The companies and the science. It all needs to be a collaboration between everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And innovation is needed. It's very often we think that the big companies are doing the innovation, but we know that it's actually the startups that are being bought by the big companies. That's how do they get the innovation. So we need to encourage more that communication between the scientists and the industry. I think that's key. But it needs a lot of, I would say, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, to connect those two worlds. And I believe they're really two different worlds. Yeah.
And also places, I think. That's why I like the pool so much, because this is a fantastic meeting place for all of these to meet. Yeah.
That's really, I can only underline that the pool has been instrumental. The last 1.5 years that I know the pool, it made so many connections possible. Yeah. So many people come to Marbella. So many startups, entrepreneurs, and
investors.
Investors.
Yes.
Investors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny to hear that you guys actually spend so much time translating, even within the same language as you mentioned. Like, okay, this is the outcome, but this is how you use it. This is interesting for you. You had no idea because you didn't understand it. It's really, really fun. I would like to launch a question for both of you. You've had some experience maybe in the agtech world here locally. I was remember back in the day when we were talking about this venture studio. So you told me you had been going around a little bit. So I'd just like to get both of your impressions of what the clean tech / agtech industry looks like here.
I don't think I have the full view yet. I met a lot of companies in my short time here. But I think what kind of well, it's the same for everybody that I met. It's they have high ambitions, they want to do a lot, but they're also equally frustrated with like, okay, they need financing. There are so much money out there. How can we access it? So that's one thing. The other thing is there are a lot of money that's looking for a company that don't really find them. So everybody's asking me. So I think there's a connect there. And also the last thing is that there are what they wish from policy is more ambition and maybe kind of clearer leadership. But I think it's all about communication. So I hope that me and Cecilia and Julia, who's doing the vertical with me, are able to like gather everybody and under the same roof, and then it will fix itself. I think
join forces and align visions and
absolutely. But I don't know if your question is more like, the company, the ag tech and the climb tech and all of these water tech companies that you met, what's differentiating them from Sweden or the Nordics?
Yeah, I mean, in general, like the companies that you've seen here, that you've maybe even the local ones that you probably have learned more about from Cecilia and Julio, etc. What stage do you see that? Because obviously agriculture is a big thing here in Andalusia, and I'd like to see your vision if you compare them to, the agricultural industry in Sweden, for instance.
Well, I haven't met super many, and the most ones I met is from the Nordics. So I wouldn't say that's a super big difference. I think there are a lot of interest, and everybody are very keen on learning how to be more water efficient. I think that's maybe the biggest challenge or change or difference between Sweden and the Nordics, because there's a lot of water there.
Yeah, water is not the issue.
No, but we had some problems some years with water too. So I mean, it's climate changes everywhere. So it's either it's too wet or it's too dry. I wouldn't say that there's like a huge difference so far from the ones that I met, but I think the thing here, it feels like there's so much happening that everybody's like eager to do something, but then it's things that hinder the transition. But I think we've come further in Sweden when it comes to regenerative farming and organic and super efficient, because there's so much money in the Nordics compared to here, and I think we're better accessing the funds than you have been traditionally here. So I think that's the biggest difference probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Johannes?
Yeah, I think the environment these days in the EU are very similar. If I look at the EIC, the European Innovation Fund Council, from where the startups are coming from, I mean, they come proportionally from all countries these days, I could say. And so I think they're all kind of fighting with the same challenges like Elin just mentioned. So one is to find the right partners. I always suggest strategic investors, not just investors, because money. Many say that there's a lot, but you need the right strategic partner that really helps the startup to get into the next.
Yeah, the smart money.
The smart money. Yeah. And then, of course, definitely the funding. I mean, I think the EU has become much better these days now with having agencies that help you to apply, that you have more and more expertise in looking at your application. Also, the government, the federal offices, they have even already some agents that look at your application before you send it. So this is coming more and more. Also, more and more agencies where you don't need to even, some of them, you don't even need to pay something upfront. They do the application for you if they're convinced, and then they will get a percentage if in case of success. So all these things exist, but sometimes the information is not there. Yeah. So what I wish also for the vertical here, for the cleantech, is that maybe we can have like a welcome committee, even if it's virtual, where startups or companies can come to Marbella and then get in touch, and then one interviews them and say, what do you need? And they say, you need funding. Okay, talk to XY. You need a customer, a test customer, because you need to validate your technology in Andalusia. Okay, let me put you in contact with YX and so on. So I think that this is something that people also need. And also we have to think that there are other startups that in other parts of Europe that would like to come and enter the market here, which is also not bad because it's good for the economy as well here in Andalusia, and also make it easier for them because maybe they also have a language barrier, or maybe just because they have no network here, and then connect them. Like we also successfully did thanks to one of the clean tech verticals that in this case an Austrian startup got connected with Julio and Cecilia, and now finding already the first distributors for their product here in Spain, which is, by the way, also saving water. So again, hydrogel is another hydrogel startup. So it is working. I think we have already proof that
Proof of concept, good.
Exactly.
it's working. It's
Good.
working.
Good.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, so I think we're gonna do exactly what you said, matchmaking. It's like that's the top number one priority.
We're obviously really happy to have you back on board with clean tech. The way I see it from the first time you launched it, you were talking about policies and certain limitations due to what Spain has put in place or isn't aware is affecting people's startups and businesses in this field. From what I understand, clean tech is the place to meet people in similar industries, put people together. You guys be the matchmakers, the communicators in between, from one end to the other. Do you feel maybe this is the first step to maybe pushing towards some sort of change in policies to be able to help other companies come down and maybe not feel so scared about a language barrier or about laws in place that might necessarily prevent them from being able to access certain funds? Or
Yeah, I mean, we are asking everybody, like, what do you want? What do you need? So I think that's like exactly what we want to do. And I think one thing that I really love that we talked about in one of the conferences we had here, it's like how to make Marbella the Silicon Valley of sustainability. And I think that's like really resonates with me because that's like I need a vision, something to strive for. So if I can make that happen and like gather all the cool guys and match make them with the money and then make sure Spain is like front running the circular economy action plans and climate action plans, I would be super happy. That would be like the dream goal, I think.
I'm supporting that.
Yeah, good.
I mean,
it's so beautiful to see that, as a meeting point, we're already, gathering people with the same vision, same willingness to participate and collaborate and take this area to the next level. So
and also we need to, speaking of the proof of concept, that we need to talk about in the next event. Because it's amazing. I didn't even know that. I know there was something going on, but this is something we need to talk about more.
Yeah. Happy
Good.
to do.
And we need more and more of those good examples that will happen here.
This will be the first drop.
Yeah. We need to start somewhere.
Exactly.
So for everybody listening and watching, Aylin and JP will be in our Clean Tech event November 14th. Will be held here at the pool from 5:30 until 7:30.
Yes.
There'll be a nice portion of presentation and talks, and then there'll be quite enough time for people to network and get to know each other and start the movement, like you said.
To join the movement.
join
Yes,
it, exactly.
join. And if you want to learn everything, the basics of circular economy, you have to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you maybe be able to get your book as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly,
gonna sign some
yeah.
books.
Yeah, exactly.
Come and buy one. Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Johannes, Elin, thanks for being here. It's been
you.
really fun to have you, and it's so inspiring to see you guys willing to take this community and to build something from it, and hopefully in the run change Marbella
Yeah.
for the better.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Always
guys.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.